afternoon, good morning, or good evening. My name is Caroline Faraj. I'm the Vice President of CNN and the Editor-in-Chief of Arabic Services. Let me start by thanking our host, Sharjah Research, Technology and Innovation Park, and congratulate them on the great success in having a remarkable and prominent list of speakers today in the first edition of MENA Innovation Technology Transfer Summit. And let me go back now to my panel. I'm thrilled today to be the moderator of the Ministerial panel on sustainable development in 2020 to 2030. My esteemed speakers are, let me start by ladies, and the ladies first. Her Excellency Tita Sahadchika. She's the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Kosovo. His Excellency Dr. Tariq Shawqi, Minister of Education and Technical Education, Government of Egypt. And His Excellency Dr. Muhyiddin Toq, Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research in the Government of Jordan. In this panel, we will try to find some answers to the following. Where do we stand on the Sustainable Development Goals, that is also known as the Global Goals? We all know that the SDGs were adopted by all United Nations member states in 2015. So would you please shed the light on what's the situation now with regards to the situation there and how you're coping with it, please?
Thank you, Caroline. I am very honored to be a part of this distinguished panel talking about sustainable development, SDGs, innovation, and I wish this summit great success. Honestly, I would prefer this conference to be live in a nice place, meeting personally panelists and many remarkable people that are changing the world to a better place. But pandemics change the life of whole planet. Some of changes will fade, but some of them will remain forever, demanding people to find new innovative ways of communication and work. As in all the world, Kosovo is also coping with the pandemics. At the beginning, it was really an emergency and trying to find the new modus operandi in this unknown situation. But as months are going on, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Education, the government and people started to find the new way how to operate in this new situation. The number of people who are becoming ill from COVID is decreasing every day, and we had some days with 0 deaths from this pandemics, from COVID virus. The schools switched to the new normal, to Zoom meetings. Our public television had a special channel for lectures to different classes, to different ages of pupil, of students. And honestly, it was not easy to switch from live to the Zoom, to demand of new technology, to demand of new schedule, a new agenda. But I think that Kosovo is keeping up and day by day is getting more involved in this new situation. As with education, going through the health and continuing with everyday life. People in Kosovo are working with the masks. You are not allowed to enter the shops or institutions without mask. And I think this is becoming new normal. And being without mask is something that people and institutions do not respect. But this urgent response that whole the world responded to this confinement and health hazard, I need that now we need to work in a long-term, sustainable and well-prepared response to this particular, but also to other situations that would need this kind of response. I would stop here not to take more time, and I'm available later to continue.
Definitely, thank you very much. We will come back to you with some more questions because we're very interested to know more information. I will move now to Jordan, Dr. Muhyiddin. How are you coping with the new normal and the new situation? Good to see Dr. Tariq now with the video. So, Dr. Tok, can you tell us how Jordan is coping with the new normal in terms of education and higher education as well as technology, please? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Caroline, and good evening to everybody. I'm very happy to be part of this panel. As everybody knows, Jordan was hit badly at the beginning of the pandemic. And because we are a landlocked country, we had to close ourselves, in, and we had to put a total lockdown in order to guarantee that the pandemic will not spread, in a dangerous manner. I cannot say that this has affected Jordan's effort in achieving the goals of Sustainable Development Goals, but what I can say is that the priorities have shifted, and they mainly shifted to health and education and maintaining the economic situation, so no more young people will go to unemployment and to maintain the level of poverty as where it stands now. So we really paid a very high price economically and financially. And for the first 4 or 5 months, we achieved a very high level of success, measured by number of cases, number of deaths, number of recovered people per 1 million population. And I think the whole world has, praised Jordan for the success in the first five months. But that was on the expense of economic development. For the first time, maybe in 25 years, unemployment has jumped to nearly 23% now because many small and medium industries had to close. Their employees had to go without work. And now we are trying to maintain a balance between health and economic sustainability. And we have introduced new schemes. We opened up our borders. Jordanians started coming back. Students from other Arab countries started coming back. And we hope that the situation will be stabilized. There is an increase in the number of cases registered due to this opening of the borders and relaxing of the measures. But we had to do that because, if the level of development in the economy does not pick up, then we will face more and more problems. We hope in the next 2 weeks, the situation will stabilize and the economy will move again in normal rates so we can face this pandemic. And everybody knows we have a firm belief that COVID-19 is not to go away easily. It will continue with us for some time. And that's why we have introduced new measures for education in particular, whether it be general education or higher education, that I may talk about later on during the panel.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tok. I'll move now to Egypt and would like to hear from Dr. Tariq Shawqi the experience that you've achieved so far and how are things going in Egypt, please?
Thank you, Caroline. I'm not sure if my voice is stable or not. I hear you intermittently, but let me know if you can't hear. Egypt has a relatively large education system. We do have 23 million students and over 1,300,000 teachers. We had schools suspended here in mid-March, but I think we are very proud to share that we managed to leave no child behind during the crisis of COVID-19. We were able to assess and continue the school year for every child from KG1 until grade 12. And that was because we invested really in technology and in new learning prior to COVID-19. So we were able to respond relatively quickly. We used a variety of techniques because not every child is connected, and we had to reach them in so many different ways. We were able to use project-based assessment from grades 4 until grades 9. And we received about 15 million projects done in all subjects by students in all those grades. We had students in grades 10 and 11. They were supplied with devices prior to COVID-19, so we were able to test them electronically. We made 10.5 million electronic exams. We tested them at home, and they all passed to the next year. The only grade year where we had to bring them down to the ground were grade 12, because this is the last exit year, and it's very important for admission to college. We managed to test 1.4 million students for a whole month of June. In the premises, making sure that all guidelines were watched. We got no single case of coronavirus during those exams. So all in all, we used electronic exams, we used digital libraries, we used TV channels, we used different assessment models. But at the end of the day, we passed the school year safely to everybody, and we are now really working on the plan for next year, where we have to bring over 20 million to the classroom, and that is something we can shed more light on as the conversation goes. But I'll leave it to you, Caroline.
Well, thank you very much. I think it's so far we can say that the experience, it was tough. It was very surprising to everybody. Nobody was prepared for it. However, the infrastructure, the determination behind all decision makers to move forward and to reach out to the education. Now, the question to you: to what extent you feel that now we have learned solid lessons that we can now expect next year? Because as far as we all know that there's no vaccine so far. So as long as there's no vaccine, that means we have to live with it for another year, or God knows till when. To what extent do you feel that you are now prepared, you as governments, and also you feel that the schools and the teachers are also prepared? Because even if you have the technology and you have the money, if the teachers are not used to these challenges and they were not prepared before, you might face also the challenge. Is there a gap in between, and are you prepared? Who would like to start? Just raise your hand and open the microphone, please. All right, Dr. Tuq, tafadhal.
In March, we had to close down our schools, universities, colleges, and all higher education institutions. And we had to move to distance education through fully electronic means within a week. And this was actually a very big challenge, given that not all schools were properly connected. We had problems with the infrastructure, technical capabilities, human resources readiness, weak network in certain areas of the country. But within a week, we had to tackle all these problems with good success, I think. And we were able to finish the school year rather successfully. We used TV and electronic teaching, distance education, different forms. And we were also able to finish the second semester of the universities rather successfully. And we managed to test all our students in the public schools as well as in the universities electronically. And university professors as well as teachers in public schools have really done an excellent job in facing this big challenge. Now, I think we have gained a good experience on what to do for the next school year and academic year. School year has started about a couple of weeks ago, and through special arrangements, we are sending half of the pupils and students for half of the week to school. The other half go on the other half, and then we are alternating. In case there is a COVID-19 case in any school, the school will be closed and automatically switch to online teaching and learning. Next week, actually next Sunday, all universities will go back. At the university level, the challenge is a bit less than in schools. In schools, we are dealing with 2.5 million kids from KG to 12. It's a big problem dealing with the young children because they are uncontrollable in terms of taking care of themselves, taking health measures that are required, whether it is masks or gloves or keeping social distancing. With the universities, we are now planning for next week that all university and college requirements are going to be taught online, completely online. So we are managing, through this, we are managing not to have hundreds of thousands of students not coming back at the same time to the university. While other specialized courses, lab courses, applied courses, so on and so forth, will be taught in the universities on campus. Courses that are taught online will be assessed and examined online, while courses that are taught face-to-face will take their exams on campus through traditional ways of testing and assessment. All higher education courses in the master's level and PhD level have the choice, the universities have the choice whether to go fully online or to go face-to-face. We give them enough flexibility to do that. But at the same time, in order to benefit from the international experience and lessons learned around the world, we have introduced a policy paper that deals with electronic teaching and the future of higher education in the country, whereby we are allowing in 2020 that 20% of the courses to be taught online. 50% of those courses can be taken from international platforms such as Coursera or edX or what have you, and to be fully accredited in their program. In 2021, we are moving to 40% of the courses, and in 2022, we are moving to 50% of the courses. This is in anticipation that COVID is going to stay with us for some time. But at the same time, we look at this as a qualitative measure in order to reform the education system through putting our students and teachers in touch with best practices in the world.
Thank you. It was interesting and good to hear the response that the government of Jordan did. I'm happy that Kosovo also, it seems that the whole world have a good cooperation and follow each other. And school for elementary and secondary school in Kosovo started yesterday, but started with less number of students. So the distance and social distancing and mask to be available all the time. Not all students will be there. So depending on the classroom, on the school, there will be only live, only the number of students that will be in the classroom, respecting the distance and respecting the measures, while other students will be teaching the courses online. And this will be for those students who are online, next time for next week will be in class and vice versa. So just not to lose the connectivity with the school, the belonging to the community and knowing each other. For young students, especially, school is not only learning the skills from the teacher, but it is also learning the social skills and behavior and respect for each other and many more things than only the knowledge that they are getting. University will start in 1st of October. And of course, there is measures that will help students not to be all the time in the university, but to replace the number of courses with online courses. The government provided masks and hygiene measures, and we were blessed to have many donations that came from around the world, not only for health with oxygen instruments and the measures, but also for schools. We have a very good cooperation also with agencies of United Nations. UNICEF was very instrumental in this case, providing schools with measures, with help to start safely the education of this year. But as Minister Tauk said, this is not only 2020 issue. This will become issue for much longer time. And emergency response was very much needed. But we need in cohesion with the whole world to find ways how to respond to sustainable way of responding to these pandemics. And it won't be maybe next pandemics, but it may be the need to conduct this way of communication, of schooling, of education, of governing, of living in new modus operandi with this virus or with others. So, yeah, shortly, this is from Kosovo.
Well, thank you very much. I will go now to Dr. Shawki. I would like to ask you a question. Now, when we talk about Egypt, it's the number of students that you just mentioned are enrolling in the schools this year, 23 million. It's way larger even than the population of Jordan. So how are you coping with this huge number and this new normal that we all became in it, and especially also that we're talking about a country who is also is basically seeking more support, international support for financial and economic. So how are you handling this new priority and making it possible to move forward with this huge number of staff and students? Please.
Yeah, well, that's a good question, Caroline. We have made few strategic decisions, probably different than other countries. We have grouped our students into four different groups. The group from KG1 to grade 3 are actually studying a brand new education system that we started 2 years ago. So those youngsters need more interaction with the teachers, so they will attend in school more days, between 3 and 4 days, depending on the school. The final schedule is done by each school separately, because we give them general guidelines, and we because of the difference between school sizes and the number of available spaces, we leave it to the school principal to make sure about social distancing and choose the times of attendance. But KG1 to grade 3 will attend 3 days a week or 4 days a week, depending on the school. Grades 4 to 6 will attend also 3 days a week, but grades 7 to 9, middle school, we divided them into 3 groups. They will attend 2 days a week and study at home the remaining days. The high school students attend only 2 days a week. But strategically, every classroom, every subject, every lecture from grade 4 to 12 is now being recorded on multiple TV channels. And we ask the students from grade 4 to 12 that the main instruction will be viewed on television, no matter how many days they come to school. When they come to school, it will not be lectures. It will be the activities and the office hours and the dialogues. But the lecturing will happen on television from grade 4 to grade 12. That's a very fundamental switch in where instruction takes place. Now, why we do that? Because we have actually in the group KG1 to grade 3, we have 8 million students. And grade 4 to 6, we have 6 million. Grade 7 to 9, we have 5 million. And the high school has about 2 million. We made available to students a very large number of learning resources. The TV channels are the least common denominator for poor people, for people in remote areas who don't have the infrastructure to reach the internet. But for those who can reach the internet, we do have a huge digital library that has learning objects from KG1 to grade 12 that we invested in since 2015. And that is a huge resource in Egypt. It's based on what we call the Egyptian Knowledge Bank. But we have not just the books, we have digital learning objects from videos to interactive applications to e-books, you name it. In Arabic, English, and French. But we also have another platform for social learning on which we have millions of virtual classrooms. And we have also a streaming service like Netflix. We do have a library for electronic courses and a library for e-books. And the TV stations become the main reference. And in terms of assessment, we are assessing students in grades 10 to 12 using completely electronic exams and electronic grading. So that is very convenient during the COVID-19. For grades 4 to 9, they have to be assessed in the classroom in the days of attendance. But Caroline, you asked about lessons learned a few minutes ago, and I think what we're trying to do is really make sure that the content and the school year is not interrupted, the same number of weeks, the same syllabus, nothing is cut down. But it just gives parents a role they didn't play before. So they have to really be partners here. And the teachers are playing a new role as well. And this whole crisis has changed the perception of learning in the minds of parents and teachers, which was a plus in a way, because we were suffering for years from a shifting in the culture that people are really not trying to learn. They're trying to get scores and to get certificates. It's a credential-based or driven system. So we're trying very hard, even before the COVID-19, to change that mindset. We want students to be equipped with real skills. And COVID-19 has helped us in a way do that. Now they think very hard of why we are doing all of this. And the new assessments help us do that. So in a nutshell, we are using the TV channels as the least common denominator, but supplementing that with a very large number of, we have tremendous digital content, tools to do electronic exams and different LMSs. And we have a service called Ask Your Teacher, which is more like Uber, but instead of getting a cab, you get a teacher to answer your questions. And we also have extra sessions at schools at night for those who want extra help. So between all those solutions, we are covering the spectrum of the 23 million students.
Wow. Thank you very much, Dr. Shawki. If anybody would like to interact, and please, from my panelists, if you want to interact or ask questions as well to each other, please do. But I would like also to ask a question to my esteemed panelists. Now, technology used to be looked at by some countries as luxury or not that much important. But now technology is becoming a vital element. If you want to succeed and continue education, health, any aspect or any sector, you have to have technology. So do you think that we are prepared for this? And do we have the infrastructure in our countries to move forward? Who would like to start? Please.
Definitely, technology is something that we cannot continue from this. And regarding Kosovo, Kosovo has very good internet infrastructure. More than 80% of complete territory of Kosovo is connected to high-speed internet. The IT literacy started immediately after the war in 1999, and the huge efforts have been put to spread the IT literacy to all population, not only to children, but also to employees, to officials, and even to old people who are not in the working market. And I think that that effort resulted very positively. So Kosovo today per capita have the biggest number of engineers, of specialists in IT that are specialized in networking, in telecom, in Cisco, in Juniper, and other. And ICT is becoming a very strong part of our economy. Exporting the services and working online for US and for European countries, especially from the soil of Kosovo. Our schools, almost all of them are connected to internet, except to very remote area. Maybe this, in comparison to Egypt and Jordan, is easy to say because Kosovo is has only 1.8 million people, but for us is very important. But there was, during the COVID, we saw that not every student had access to laptop or to computer or to internet in their own houses. And there was a huge effort, not only from institutions, but also from private sector to provide to these students laptops and to government to speed up the connection to the internet so they can use their basic rights to education. So education was one of most hit sectors, but not the only one. The health and economy are also requiring government and partnership with all relevant stakeholders to soothe the impact that COVID gave. So when it comes to economy, I would also take another turn to talk.
Thank you very much. I will give the floor, if you don't mind, to Dr. Shawqi. I think he requested to talk as well. Dr. Shawqi, can you hear me? Go ahead.
Yes. Well, I just wanted to say that we actually, on the contrary, we don't see technology as a luxury at all. Even surprisingly, at a country that big and with the perceived problems you mentioned, Caroline, the state here invested heavily before COVID-19 in two major things. One is to have the digital content available, not just for students, but for every citizen in Egypt. The Egyptian Knowledge Bank I referred to is a unique digital library. I think it's the largest digital library in the world. It's a library designed for educators, for people in higher education, in basic education, and the public at large. It's open for any IP from Egypt. It's for over 100 million citizens. The idea is to create a knowledge-based society. So we subscribe to every knowledge house in the world you can think of, a publisher, and brought in the scientific journals in all fields and subjects. It's for all ages. We have ebooks, video libraries, image libraries, app libraries, all at the fingertips of everyone. They can access it from their mobiles, from anywhere. So that started in 2016. And based on which we extracted sub-libraries for basic education or for higher education or for doctors, for agriculture people, and so on. So it's a phenomena in Egypt. Second is the state invested in high schools in grades 10 to 12. We purchased an iPad-like device for 2 million students. They got it for free, and they keep it for 3 years. These are like 10 billion pounds. And the hardware is not the issue, but the content was important first, then the hardware, then we created the engine for electronic exams that allow us to reach anyone, anytime, anywhere with the electronic grading. So we took the human factor out of the picture to be able to run those massive exams without the heavy logistics on the ground. With the COVID-19, it became even more of a necessity to use those tools. The interesting thing is people who never use technology away from high school, like grades 4 to 9, surprisingly, were just having now an appetite for technology, which we couldn't have done without COVID-19. And when we put together the learning management system, I called it social learning platform, where we have the virtual classrooms. On that platform, in a week, we got 13 million subscribers. Those were 11 million students, 1 million teachers, and about 1 million parents on the platform. They didn't ask us how to use it. They just used it. And you will be surprised, in remote villages, people talk about technology as if it's no big deal. Kids, we have no problem with whatsoever. The IT literacy for children is almost 100%. The problem we have is with the parents. It's not with the children. The sector who's freaking out are the parents. The parents, just because that's not the way they studied, they cannot imagine how to do that in any new fashion. So the resistance is coming from the parents and from people who had vested interest in the old system. Anybody whose income was affected is an enemy to change. And at that scale and that speed, we don't have a problem really with finance. surprisingly, or with devices, solutions. We have a problem with the mindset, with the readiness and ability of the parents and teachers to respond. The kids are okay. If we are left alone with the students, we would do a much better job. It's the adults in the equation who are impeding progress,
and
just
I think
because change is difficult for them.
I believe you're absolutely right, but we are lucky here to know that as according to the United Nations, 70% of the population are under the age of 30. So we're dealing with young population, and I think it's the same thing also with the Kosovo. So let me just, because they're asking us to wrap it up. Let me ask Dr. To what extent do you think that we are back on track and we are reaching out to youth and women as well in our societies? If we can wrap it up, and I'm really sorry, but because of the technology and stuff, we were not having enough time. Dr. Tok.
I can tell you that most of the technological innovations that we have introduced during this pandemic were actually introduced by young men and women. More women than men, actually. We have one of the largest applications now, which is called Aman Safety, which actually warns every individual who has that application that he or she is coming into contact with somebody who is infected with COVID-19. And this was done, the application was developed and commercialized by 5 or 6 young men and women. And now approximately 1.5 million Jordanians have that application on their mobiles. The platform, the education platform for public schools, which is called Darsak, your class, is also developed by young teachers, mainly female teachers, working with the Ministry of Education, some of them on voluntary basis, actually. And today, the Minister of Education has told me that the number of visits to that platform today was, until about 12 o'clock Amman time, was 1.8 million visits to the application. At the beginning of the pandemic, everybody was critical of e-learning and e-teaching, and actually they bombarded us with criticisms through the social media. And now, when we decided to send back the students to schools, everybody is telling us, why are you endangering them and sending back to school? Why not electronic education and teaching? It actually has emerged, fantastically, and this is probably one of the positive elements of COVID that would not have happened without it.
I think when I hear you saying this, Dr. Tok, I also hear the similar stories everywhere. And one of the quote unquote good things about the pandemic is that we feel that we are all at the same time at the same situation. So nobody is better than others. We're all the same, but the good thing is that behind it, if we have a plan, we can do it. And I cannot really close without hearing Mrs. Yuta telling us you're a fighter for women's rights and empowering women. And I have to conclude and close the session with some remarks. How you think that women are now empowered, even though some studies showed that they were sometimes harassed, not taking their rights, and also less paid and all that stuff. And they were basically the first to be asked to leave the jobs. But how do you see it? Are you still optimistic? Let's close by a female touch, if you like.
Thank you, Caroline. Yes, I'm a strong believer in women empowerment, and in all my adult life, I work to do that. And I believe that empowering women is not only, but very important to fight violence against women, that unfortunately COVID confinement raised the number of violence against women. But also now in second response, after this emergency response, that we need to take care that confinement also brings this habits to people who are confined. But also it is important for those women to be empowered economically. All statistics shows that not only violence against women, but also the first people who got out of the job were women, because most of women had one-person jobs, one-person companies, and those were most affected. Hospitality and the small micro businesses that were mostly owned by women were definitely very much hit. I'm happy that my government prepared this economic recovery program, where also for women businesses and women empowerment and women programs are special place for them. It is around 1 billion. Now, I hesitate to mention numbers, having in mind hundreds of millions of people in 2 countries of my counterpart, but for us, 1 billion is very big. And with U.S. government also, we have infusion. It was yesterday with the programs with another $1 billion in creating jobs. And I think that I appreciate the way how Minister Shouki told that we, from this COVID, we need to learn to use that as a new possibility and to change the mindset. The mindset that the women are the part of society, and without them, the whole society is not complete and not strong.
Absolutely. Even the panel now, we're 50-50, so it's balanced. So unfortunately, I have to close because there's, I think, another panel. But I cannot really thank you enough, and I really.
Can I have one more comment, Caroline? Can I have one more comment?
Maybe a quick one. Otherwise, they will actually kick us out because I think we've taken 15 minutes from the other panel. But if you have a quick one, go ahead, Doctor.
Yesterday, the World Economic Forum has met to study the sustainable development impact and how it was impacted by COVID-19. I think the message that we can send to everybody in the world is that if we don't put our hands together and minds together, this pandemic is not going to go away through an effort of one country, not even one region. So we all need to put our heads together and work together to tackle this pandemic.
And the global goals actually talks about cooperating with each other. If somebody is doing something, the others cannot actually survive. So I have to close this, and I'm really sorry. But thank you very much again, my esteemed panelists, and also sorry for the audience who were not able to ask some questions due to time. And I hope the technology in your countries will be better than the challenges that we face. Thank you very much again, and I hope that we will meet again to talk about more success stories. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.